Warhammer 40k has been building its universe for nearly 4 decades. Through hundreds of novels, codexes, and endless fan debates, it's one of the deepest and most complex sci-fi settings ever written. But with that much lore comes change, and over the years, Games Workshop has rewritten, reimagined, and sometimes outright contradicted its own canon.
Of course, some fans defend the chaos as part of the setting itself. After all, 40k's history is told through unreliable narrators, imperial propaganda, and half-lost records of a dying galaxy. Quote, "Everything is canon, not everything is true," is the quote that gets thrown around all the time.
But sometimes that just isn't good enough, because today we'll be discussing the retcons and lore changes that many fans hated the most, starting with the Half-Eldar Ultramarine. I'm glad this one's gone. Around 2nd edition, Games Workshop removed lore suggesting friendly alien relations. Good. For example, Ilian and this is why he had to go. For example, Ilian Namaste, an early character, was originally portrayed as the chief librarian of the Ultramarines, and he vanished. His unique backstory included a human mother and an Eldar father, making him a half Eldar, half human hybrid. Early Warhammer 40k lore depicted an Imperium tolerant of Way to ruin the setting, dude. Do you know what this was? This was like early dorks who just fucking love the idea of having sex with an elf. You know, this is people who read Tolkien and they were like, oh my god, dude, I wish I could fuck Orwin. And then someone with better taste came along and said like, that's just gonna make this dumb fantasy in space.
Also, being a half-elf is like the lamest thing.
I am half gay.
I'm half gay. It's like the lamest.
Can I get a little fist?
Yeah.
Chud.
Chud hammer!
That's fucking right, baby. 32.
No, it's just like D&D bullshit.
It is D&D bullshit.
We're better than this.
Yeah, someone said this needs less D&D bullshit and more fucking crusades, and I respect it.
That's 100% what this is, though. It's like, we have this sci-fi thing. What's cool with the nerds right now? D&D. This D&D based on Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is sick. Yeah.
Games Workshop got their start by selling, they had like the UK rights to distribute D&D. So I think Don is entirely correct. This was just fucking like losers trying to figure shit out.
Fuck you.
Fuck you guys, you suck. Okay, so yeah, they depicted an Imperium tolerant of xenos human hybrids, even in high space marine ranks. Wow. This contrasts with the later, stricter, better, xenophobic Imperium that developed. Consequently, Natasasama's role as chief librarian was taken over later by Vero Tigurius. The retcon reflects Games Workshop's desire to portray the Imperium as deeply reactionary and correct, rigid, rather than having earlier openness. For longtime fans, this is often seen as a weird relic from early editions, highlighting the clash between early goofy lore and not at all goofy modern grimdark narrative discipline within the Warhammer community. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, this sucks. This should have been retconned.
Earlier, it should be retconned earlier.
I think the video is called Dumb Retcons, but this is not dumb. This is good.
Am I imagining he has one pointy ear and one normal ear?
That'd be so awesome.
Because now I'm on board. That is so funny. That's now our lore. They can try and retcon that. Dude, like the whole halves of the face looked like one eye is slightly more almondy. Just saying. Don't crucify the messenger.
Well, anyways, Abaddon's 12 failed crusades. That was 13.
Oh, that's a cool piece of art. Dude, you put any fucking Space Marine in Terminator armor on a throne and it's the sickest thing you've ever seen.
Abaddon the Despoiler, War Master of Chaos, led 12 largely unsuccessful Black Crusades against the Imperium of Man over millennia. The fans mocked him for these continual defeats, calling him Failbadon. Failbadon.
We gotta get out of this hobby. It doesn't even fucking rhyme.
Oh, you fielding Failbadon today, Tom?
Clearly back when his fucking like arms would fall off in the middle of the match too, to add insult to injury.
In the 8th edition in 2017, Games Workshop decided that instead of just a bunch of random losses, the Black Crusades were actually all part of one big master plan. Basically, Abaddon didn't mess up a dozen times in a row, he was just playing the long game, carefully weakening the Imperium for one final showdown. The 13th Black Crusade destroyed Cadia and split the galaxy with the Great Rift, a tear in reality that tore the Imperium's territory in half. Abaddon is no longer portrayed as a serial failure, but as a master strategist and unifying force for the disparate Chaos Legions. The retcon effectively redefined Abaddon's role within the 40k mythos, transforming him from a background antagonist into a central figure in the current storyline. Abaddon's Black Crusade retcon sparked fan division. Some saw it as deserved recognition, others saw it as retroactive, inconsistent change. This marked a shift in Games Workshop's narrative from static conflicts to an evolving series serialized narrative.
Do you know what? In some ways, this is the ultimate fucking retcon, because they didn't just retcon, you know, Abaddon being bad at Crusades. They retconned the entire universe. It used to be stuck in the 41st millennium, and now it's the 42nd millennium, right?
Yeah, now it keeps ticking forward, which you can understand why it's necessary, but it also kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Endless need to, like, reveal some of the mystery. It was way cooler when the entire setting was shrouded in this mysterious tragedy, you know? And everyone just feels stuck.
Yeah.
But you can't have the stuckness and movement, but you also can't keep selling models for 40 years on the same background.
It's true. It's such a shame, because that, like, sense of mystique really just... Back when the Horus Heresy was, like, just this thing that happened and you could read little, like, snippets of it, it just gave so much allure. It was so, like, whoa, what happened here? Kind of like, I don't know, I feel like it's fucking Destiny with a new raid coming out every 5 weeks. Like, and now, the new bad guy, Blork, has descended upon the high chaos plains. And you're like, how are we gonna kill Blork? As far as the Crusades themselves, like, Crusades are fucking hard. You know that if you watched our video, ranking the Crusades. Go on, watch it out. Go, watch it out, watch it out. I do understand that he kind of seemed like a complete failure, so he had to do something, but I don't think a few failed Crusades is such a bad thing.
I think it makes the Chaos, like, a better bad guy. Like, Chaos, I think Chaos Space Marines were a later edition, obviously still super early, but the original antagonists were all goofy, like orcs and Tyranids and stuff.
Right.
And it's just like a fun space adventure where there's half-elf ultramarine librarians. So yeah, like the addition of Chaos as like a legitimate threat to the Imperium was good. This makes him more of a legitimate threat. So I get it. I think it has to happen. It just kind of sucks.
It's too cartoony though.
All of his Crusades?
Yeah, I mean, obviously repeating Crusades ad nauseum despite making zero progress has a lot of historical precedence.
But he did make progress.
Every time. That would be
time.
like if we reframed the Crusades today and we were like, okay, first Crusade, capture Jerusalem, job done. Second Crusade, yes, the leaders of it drowned, but did you know they diverted to Egypt and that laid the foundations? It's like you can go into this ad nauseum bullshit for eternity, but it just sounds like a cope.
Although, to be fair, setting up the 13th one as the good one does sound like gay Games Workshop lore writing.
More like Gaze Workshop.
Yeah. That's 2 in 1 video.
Plenty more where that came from, boys.
We used to play at the Games Workshop headquarters in the US. It was called the Battle Bunker in Glen Burnie, Maryland. And they had an event when this happened.
Did they?
When Cadia fell.
No way.
Yeah, and I was there, dude.
I was there when the planet broke before the guard did.
They made a giant table and all the dorks were there with their models. There was like a giant like gate to Cadia with like a city on one side and then like a big battlefield on the other, and they had like a LED warp portal in the table. It was really cool.
Who do you think's the more insufferable fucking douchebag? The people like defending in that game or the people attacking?
Oh man.
I'm not gonna let you do this.
No, come on, guys. Roll better.
I'm gonna break the gate to Cadia. Unleash chaos across the galaxy.
And you know what, man? It was fixed. It's like they knew they wanted them to win. Because every turn they kept like bringing models in from the back for the chaos side, coming out of the warp portal. It was like...
So it was like a last stand.
Yeah. It was
That's kind of sick.
It was kind of cool.
Unless you're a child and you're like, no! I can't fail him!
I can't believe it. No, they blew up the gate and then they made Cotias, the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
He was like standing in the gate, blown up. I was like, thick.
Dude, what the fuck? Why did you get all these sick experiences? I just have my fucking ice cream tub of grey shame. This is gonna sound like the Monty Python walking uphill both ways skit. We used to make terrain out of like fish and chip shop like chip stabbers. And
nice.
We made like terrain out of them. That was our terrain. And then on the carpet. Meanwhile, the land of the free, baby.
The gates of Cadia. Your HQ probably did something cool too.
What HQ?
Like headquarters, Games Workshop.
Oh, I didn't even know it existed.
I guess it would have been Warhammer World?
Probably,
Yeah,
and when we
no.
went the first time, it was kind of fucking dog shit. Anyway, enough belly aching. The Terminus Decree. This is interesting because I've heard a lot of anger about this, but I have no idea what it is, so we're gonna go on a journey together. A sealed box held by the Grey Knights was said to contain an order from the Emperor to be opened only in humanity's darkest hour. When the fuck are they gonna know that is? was one of 40k's greatest mysteries, and just recently its contents was partially revealed in July 2025 in the Grey Knight's 10th edition codex. The decree states that the Emperor must never leave the Golden Throne, be reborn, or ascend as a warp entity. If he does, the Grey Knights are commanded to return him to his duty by force, if necessary, even if that means killing or rebinding him to the throne. This revelation intertwines with several major storylines: the failing Golden Throne, demon incursions, the Custodes' role, and humanity's survival strategy, making the decree one of the setting's most consequential secrets. But many fans hated the reveal, arguing it destroyed the mystery that made the decree iconic. Others questioned its plausibility. How could the Grey Knights, vastly outnumbered by the Custodes, enforce such an order? Fans criticized the Emperor's motives and the reveal's timing as a cheap shock, not a meaningful development, especially with other unresolved lore. Overall, the reveal felt like a cheap shock that stripped away one of 40k's best mysteries.
I actually think that lore in of itself is pretty interesting. I could see it being a letdown if you just thought it was such a cool thing to be a mystery, like we were just talking about a few minutes ago, but like, if we always knew what it was, then it would be pretty sweet, you know?
Yeah, it's funny, because I was gonna keep quiet so that the fans would like me more, but...
Yeah, that does suck, yeah.
That is kind of weird.
Anyway,
I was just gonna like move
next
on.
one.
So now that you're being brave, I'm gonna stand by you. I'm gonna say, actually, not the worst, although it is funny to imagine them trying to like wrestle a corpse back onto a throne. He's like, these little fucking guys are like trying to push him down. Maybe it is kind of gay. Like, just thinking about it like that, with all these little Terminators trying to like...
How, like, it would
get back on the throne, dude!
It's not just his little skeleton, it's like a warp entity thing.
But that sucks too, because it's like, they know he could achieve that or become that.
Isn't their whole thing is they know, like, extra secrets?
I don't know, that's like next level. The Emperor's like,
I'm going to become Chaos God 5.
I take it back. I do think this is retarded.
I like it.
Alright.
I think there's a thing about, since going on the Golden Throne, the Emperor is portrayed as, like, fractured, like, ultra schizoid. Like, he has conflicting motivations.
We didn't need to know.
Well, I mean, that's pretty old, though.
Yeah, but we didn't need to know. It could have just been a mystery. Is he alive? Is he not alive? The Astronomicon is, like, projecting from his fucking third Jap side, but what is that? Is it all a ruse? No, in fact, he can talk to people, and he's got split personality disorder.
Does he?
Yeah.
How?
With his mind. He's like, I'm the Emperor.
Well, fuck. You'll slowly learn that we haven't really been deep in this in many years, but it was very important to us when we were little boys, so a lot of this is trying to remember. Anyways, I think this is kind of cool. Call me a casual or an old man that's been out of it too long, but yeah. The Squats Resurrection. The Squats, 40k space dwarves, debuted in Rogue Trader as beer-drinking biker miners on high-gravity worlds. They were a full Imperium faction, complete with homeworlds, guilds, and a distinct aesthetic. But by the mid-90s, Games Workshop quietly removed them from the setting, claiming that they had been devoured by Tyranids. The Squats became a long-running meme as a symbol of a lost lore and corporate neglect. But suddenly, in 2022, they were reborn as the Leagues of Votan, a modernized reinterpretation that re-established space dwarves as a major faction with new lore, models, and tone. But the resurrection split the fanbase. Longtime players celebrated their return, but many felt the new Leagues of Votan stripped away what made the Squats uniquely tongue-in-cheek. The original Squats were roughneck miners and mercenaries who fit 40k's grim, dark absurdity. The new Votan, by contrast, are high-tech clone kind governed by ancient AI ancestor cores. Actually, someone thought that High Command is riffing off of ancestor cores. I had no idea they existed. I guess it's a similar concept, though. It's like a
I don't know why anyone would make any parallels between our show and any other sci-fi setting, because I don't see it.
So anyways, some saw this as an overcorrection, less dwarvish charm, more sanitized futurism. Others pointed out that GW has spent decades mocking fan requests of their return, only to bring them back once they saw the market opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, no shit. It's a fucking business. What do you want them to like keep a line around that just fucking fails and bleeds them money? Hey, I like to jump on the Games Workshop hate train as much as the next guy, but like, if there's no appetite for an army, why would you keep it?
You think nobody was buying Squat?
Yeah, I guarantee it.
The Votan's reintroduction marked a rare instance of GW unretconning a retcon, proving that no part of 40k's lore is ever truly dead while there's minis to sell.
I really like the cynicism behind Games Workshop's move with bringing them back. Because you know what they thought? They were like, okay, we've done every Space Marine literally fucking possible. We even went back to the Horus Heresy so we could make Space Marines versus Space Marines. How the fuck do we get more Space Marines into this setting? And then they made the dwarfs who are just like another redux of Space Marines.
Let's make StarCraft Space Marines.
They're like humans in power armor, and they collect resources and fight aliens.
But they're short.
Yeah, like, come on. Everyone knows what you're doing.
What do you think of their flavor and lore versus the original squads?
I think it's better.
Yeah?
I haven't read much about them, but the Ancestor Cores idea I think is fucking cool. The rest of it I could take or leave, honestly, I don't care, but I just think like drinking biker guys is just fucking lame.
Yeah.
We ride Harleys and drink beer, space beer. I'm like,
There's something about the aesthetic I'm still not too into, though.
I don't like the aesthetic either.
It's all like Moonlander.
Yeah.
Moonlander, Moon Buggy, crossed with fantasy dwarves with like the same runes and stuff. And there's just something about it that doesn't feel like it fits. It doesn't fit together.
Yeah, I agree. But I feel like almost anything is better than like drinking beer and like being in leather with fucking sunglasses. It's like, bruh, I don't know.
I actually think I would like the aesthetic if they didn't try to push the rune stuff.
But see, something like this, the design is actually kind of cool. But then if you go look at that guy who was pure fantasy, that's where it loses me. He could be in Lord of the Rings and you wouldn't know.
Alright, anyways, here's a big one.
Hiding the Demonette's boobies. We talked about this before, but we'll talk about it again. In the early 2000s, the Demonette's models were at their peak. Metal sculpts showing cleavage and minimal armor.
Just cleavage, Tom.
A little more than that. But around 2017 or so, as the hobby was maturing, the models started wearing more covering. The bare breasts out front era is flagged as the beginning of the end for many. Some hobbyists mourned, others foolishly applauded it for better molding, more poses, less fragile bits. Fuck off, dude. But the lore of modesty enters Slaanesh's realm became a meme fodder on the internet. This is true.
It's very fucking stupid.
The boys want boobies. There's nothing wrong with that. You can't have the pleasure god be like, actually, I think it's sexier when they're fully covered.
And look like ghouls.
Sexy. Do you know what? Ghouls are sexy in their own way, aren't they? You're just like, what? No. No, they're so ethereal and mysterious. Like, dude, I can see her fucking ribs. Bald is beautiful.
The whole thing with Slaanesh, again, is they're meant to be the chaos god, demonic embodiment of sexual perversion and desire. So the whole thing with Demonettes is they're meant to like be luring the soldier out of the trenches to go fuck on the battlefield.
Okay, question.
Yes.
You're so ready.
Yeah, what's up? What is it?
What's up, Tom? I got this one.
What is it?
Pass the pigskin. The question is, if Games Workshop had no boundaries, you know, no fucking moral qualms about redesigning them now, what would be the ultimate expression of Slaanesh, like sexiness, in the year 2025? Because I don't know if this body type is in anymore.
What do you think's in now?
They would have BBLs, their tits would be 7 times bigger.
For sure.
They'd have like enough lip filler to... Help me out, give me a joke. Enough lip filler to...
I don't know, man. They'd be hot.
They'd be hot. They'd have their little noses sculpted to a fine point.
They'd have multiple giant boobs.
Oh, how many, Don?
The 3 sets.
Whoa! That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bet you can find 3D printable ones, though.
I bet you're right. I bet if you type in Slaanesh demons on Rule 34, they probably all have dicks too.
Yeah.
So, Games Workshop, if you want to like design for a modern market, those ideas are on us.
And now, last but not least, female Custodes. You knew it was coming. The Adeptus Custodes, referred to as the 10,000 or Custodians, is the force responsible for protecting the Imperial Palace and the body of the Emperor. Literally his body on the throne in the Imperial Palace on Terra.
I'm the Emperor.
The Custodes is an elite force of genetically engineered warriors who are widely regarded as the deadliest warriors in the whole galaxy.
Whoa.
However, in 2024, the game's 10th edition Codex for Adeptus Custodes had some interesting passages that caused some fans to raise an eyebrow. In the book's introduction, Games Workshop had specifically chosen to highlight a battlefield story concerning a female Custodes by the name of,
Calades.
that sounds like a girl.
Calades Toravalia Kesh. She was Persian too.
Fans were confused. This is the first time a female custodian was ever mentioned in the lore, even though gendered language had been used in the lore for years.
Wow.
Older passages that come to mind stated, quote, Custodes begin their lives as the infant sons of the noble houses of Terra, and, quote, it is a great honor for those of Terran noble descent to submit a son, end quote. How have the Custodians been around for almost 40 years without there ever being a mention of female Custodes? In 2019, writer Aaron Dembski-Bowden said there was no lore reason they couldn't be female. They were only written as males because there was no female models. On Twitter, when asked about why they added female Custodes, Games Workshop replied, famously, quote, since the first 10,000 were created, there have always been female Custodes, end quote. Even with the newer fans' openness to the idea of female Custodes, many thought that pretending that it was always ambiguous was a disingenuous way of introducing new lore into the canon, especially in a modern age of shoehorning girls into everything.
You know what this was done? This was Games Workshop. They were doing one of these. Let me get my hogs out. They were going dipping their toes into the water to see what would happen if we did female Space Marines. Put an OnlyFans censor on that. Put a Patreon bar on that. People don't get that unless, I'm serious, people don't get that unless they go to the Patreon.
They also just did this with the lady heads a few weeks ago.
Oh no, but yeah, but that could just been shit sculpts. To reference what Don's talking about, a head kit came out to put different heads on your Space Marines for variety, and some people said that a bunch of them looked like women. So if you're a conspiratorial, it's Games Workshop boiling the frog and laying the groundwork and testing to see reactions. If you're not, they're just like Games Workshop sculptors being retarded and unable to do faces. Asian or female? The classic debate. What is possible to me is they're trying to diversify the line, right? But their sculptors have only sculpted white dudes for past 40 years. And anytime they have to do a different race, they just don't quite know what to do with it. And they end up with this.
I can't make my mind read the bottom right one. It's Asian. All it can be is like the most feminine looking square-jawed guy imaginable, or a female sculpt.
So
it even has like the little like mascara line.
3 dudes, 1 girl. It's official. They, at the very least, whoever painted that put a little mascara wingtip on it.
A little flick. They wanted to see what happens.
Dude, when I saw this initially, I was like, I think people are reaching, but you're kind of fucking red pilling me right now.
I think there was a handful more.
Oh yeah, let's look at more. Actually, this is fun. Let's look at more faces. Dude, oh my God, yes. Look at that guy. I saw a model kit once, or a piece of art where like, oh, it's the new Space Wolves. Please go find the new Space Wolf heads. Everyone has to see this. It's so good.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I can't wait.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Why are you excited, Don? What do you think it's gonna be?
Because I want to see an Asian guy.
Ah, there it is! Zoom in! Zoom in on his face.
His Viking beard, obviously.
Look at that, dude. He's got a fucking, like, Fu Manchu. What was the brief? Make this the most racist thing you've ever thought of.
That's always how it goes. It's like,
dude, we need to add some diversity. We need to make people feel welcomed.
Listen, we're just whitewashing him to give him a regular beard.
Look at this.
They can't grow those. They can't grow regular beards. They can't grow regular mustaches.
Can you imagine him praying to the All-Father?
Yeah, fight on, Wolfkin.
Ah, that's right. Sven Wolfgard, Sven Loganson, the Space Wolf. Oh, I love it, dude. That's my favorite new model of all time.
Whenever they're faced with these dilemmas, they always pick wrong. They had an artist do portraits of all the Space Marine chapters, like the key ones.
Yeah, and the
White Scars one is so funny.
I feel like that's if they decided to make a black Space Wolf Terminator and gave him a fucking, like, disc in his lip. That's what I think that looks like. He just needs the fucking straw hat, dude. That's all he needs, and we're fucking like selling 1 trillion models. Some of these were really fucking sick, by the way. As a concept, I hate Space Wolves. I think they're so stupid. They're like, that whole fucking like, we're Vikings and we like wolves, so we've got wolf chariots and like fucking...
We drink ale.
We drink ale and pray to the All-Father. It's like, ugh. But like, some of these models are sick. Like the beards, like that guy with the two like ginger fucking plaits, sick.
Do we go back to the female Space Marine faces?
Oh yeah, we're still prosecuting that.
So let's just go one by one if you zoom in.
Okay, wait.
So
we're gonna pick every one. Go from the left. Okay, male. Number 2, borderline.
Borderline. I think people are maybe worried about that one, but could be. Yeah, could be. I'll accept it.
3rd one, male.
3rd one, male.
4th one, male.
5th one, male.
Very sus. 6th
Getting
one.
a little sus.
Those lips are a little too kissable. It's making me feel things.
7th one, male.
Male.
8th one, very fucking
Bro.
sus.
Yeah.
How do you, like, who on earth thinks that's male?
If you just put that in a lineup,
Yeah.
you would be like, that's a chick. Next one is male. That's just the light skin look. Light skin people just do that look. That's not sus, that's just like...
The last one, male, obviously. So next, pretty fucking suspicious.
Yeah, and the next one, like, super fucking...
Virtually no room to deny it.
Because there are so many well-sculpted male faces here of different races.
And also, this has literally never happened before.
Yeah.
So to have like an array of all these heads and people identifying multiple of them and know that they've been pontificating this a lot recently, which implies that they're gonna drop some lore just like Primaris, you know?
Yeah.
That makes this a thing. I don't think that they're gonna say, oh, there's always been female Space Marines. I think it's gonna happen. I think it's literally
The
gonna happen.
only thing holding them back is the fear of the reaction. That's it. Because you know full well that they want to do this and they have wanted to do this, which means the only thing stopping them is the fucking autistic rage screech.
The fucking chuds, dude.
It's the chuds, for sure.
So anyways, this was a more recent thing. The Custodes thing is a little older now, but we can jump back to that.
Yeah, why don't we get down to brass tacks? Why is this something that people care about, or should care about, or shouldn't care about?
Yeah, let's try to lay out our precision, What is a concise way of putting your position, Tom?
I can reiterate what I said about female Space Marines, but it doesn't apply as much to Custodes.
Because they have different lore.
Yeah, so my position was, everything that you put into a setting, especially something like 40k, is borrowing connotations from its subject matter that help build a rich, deep, and believable world. Things have connotations attached to them, and those are used to let you assume things. Simple example, if you have bright pink colors and bubbly shapes, you're automatically inferring from that that it is like a girly and soft and not mature thing, right? Because of the connotations surrounding that color and those shapes. And let's say that color didn't always used to mean that. Pink, let's say, used to be for boys, but we're operating in the current like cultural fabric of what we understand. So when you have a setting that is so based on militarism and like monastic knights, you're using those connotations to like build this world and make it believable. This whole warrior monk thing, we have historical examples of going back thousands of years that you may not even think you've like looked into or thought about that much, but you would have been surrounded by it if you're in like a Western nation, especially your whole life. Whether it's like warrior lodges for men or anything of that ilk or other media you've seen, it takes those connotations with it. So when you then flip them and add stuff like female Space Marines on a dime, A, it reeks of what it is, which is people pushing the current cultural climate of the time into something that wasn't built to support it initially, and you can have different feelings on that. And second, it breaks the immersion because now the connotations of what was there before are being fucked with by adding connotations surrounding female warriors or whatever that come with it. So it's not just this thing where you can slot stuff out and slot stuff in and not have any impact on the thing as a whole and how it feels.
But Tom,
Yes.
the Knights Templar didn't have guns. They weren't super soldiers that could fly through space. Why can't they be girls?
I'm gonna say it again. People used to say that about Game of Thrones, about Samwell Tarly being fat at the wall, okay? And he's like, oh, but like, there's dragons, so who cares? Okay, why don't we add fucking RPGs to Game of Thrones? Why don't we add fucking AK-47s to Game of Thrones? It's because there are certain things that when you add them fucking destroy suspension of disbelief. But there's dragons. Why can't there be AK-47s? They're both as mythical within that time period as each other.
I got another example for you with Game of Thrones. The whole arc of Jon Snow going to the Night's Watch and being in this prisoner warrior lodge with the Night's Watch, and they're all men. And then him getting captured by the wildlings, and one of the warriors being a girl, the redhead. The reason that's special is because he comes from a world and culture where they're all men. And it's like, okay, here's this capable, like, wildling chick that teaches me how to eat pussy, you know? But that doesn't work if there's female Night's Watchmen at all. She stops being special or interesting. And that's not arbitrary. But I think honestly, like the RPG versus Dragon, it's like the most potent example you can give. Both did not exist in the time period we're riffing on, medieval Western Europe. Both are equally as impossible to have happened, but dragons fit and RPGs don't. Why? Think about it.
Think about it.
Think about it.
That's right.
So back to Custodes.
That stuff doesn't apply as much.
Because technically the lore doesn't box women out, right?
Space Marines really rely heavily on that monastic knighthood monk shit. Custodes, I don't get that vibe. The thing about female Custodes that I think bothers people, and I think justifiably, is it's more of a microcosm of this clearly has never been the case for the entirety of the hobby, and now because of the cultural moment we're in, we decide it's so fucking important that we put it in there. And then when people say, well, that's not really been part of what I've invested decades enjoying, or the fabric of the world I love so much, which is based on like all of these archaic ways of doing things, is being changed arbitrarily for people's like political persuasion. And that fucking is like lame. It's not like creative, it's like agenda based. And you can be creative and agenda-based, but it just very much feels like a product of the now going against something that people have loved the way it is for decades and decades.
Do you think that sentiment also extends to the other way they could have done this, where they come out with a lore reason that now there's female Custodes when there weren't before, versus just trying to say it was always that way?
Saying it was always that way is way more of a fucking slap in the face and a spit in the face. Basically, it's gaslighting. The previous one is just straight gaslighting you. No, it's always been like that. You're like, but there's no examples in 30 years of lore. Yeah, no, they were always there. That's the female Custodes. Whereas changing the lore is like, it's fucking lame because again, it's that, you know, this is important to us emotionally. Or maybe capitalistically. Maybe they think they'll get more sales and women. That's always at play and that's fine.
It's very difficult to imagine a lore reason that would be compelling enough in the story to justify it, beyond it just nakedly being...
All of this is about suspension of disbelief, and that just breaks it, right? Because now you're like, you can feel the creator's hands massaging all over it, and that makes it harder to like put yourself in it.
And by the way, to finish this out, Sisters of Battle are fucking awesome.
Yeah, they're sick.
They really are fucking awesome, and they are literally the female analog to Space Marines, except that they're not super soldiers. But at the end of the day, who fucking cares? They have their own flavor that makes them powerful and interesting and unique from the Space Marines versus just being female Space Marines called Sisters of Battle. They are more powerful because they get this endowment of like magic powers from the Emperor himself for being ultra faithful. It's like really interesting, good lore. It's just kind of like, well, I don't like what I want what you have.
The counter argument they'd put forward is like, yeah, but Space Marines are the face of the hobby. They're everywhere. They're ubiquitous. Sisters of Battle don't get that much screen time, so like they want to participate in something that is the like forefront of the hobby.
Maybe the reason it's the forefront is because it appeals so deeply to the audience that buys all this shit. And maybe part of the appeal is how well realized and suspendable of disbelievable that lore is. And maybe when you try to make it appeal to everybody, you dilute it and make it suck for everybody. Like Marvel, you know? And any other property you can think of. So you think you're playing this game where you're gonna pull these people in and make them buy your shit because they can see themselves in it more, but it always goes the same way. It always just makes it suck and boring, and then people stop caring about it.
Roasted. Well, that was our funny video. That was our comedy video.
Thanks for watching, guys.
That was the comedy video of silly retcons in Warhammer 40k. If you want more laughs and fun, and to dive deeper into the depths of Warhammer 40k's lore, check out our video on Warhammer 40k jobs worse than death. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and do the bell thing. Fucking goodbye.
You know, that was probably half the recording, and I don't want to cut any of it.